there's this thing that says 1 in 4 people will suffer. It's 1 in 1. Everybody has mental health.
Yeah.
So does everybody have mental well-being? Possibly not all the time.
Yeah.
And some people probably don't understand, realise, or are aware of it. And hopefully it doesn't get to a point where it compounds and it becomes a real big thing.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Sully's Open Conversation, the show that aims to have an unfamiliar conversation in a familiar environment. I am the host, Sully, and I'm joined in my living room here with Gregg. Welcome, Gregg.
Pleased to be here, mate. Pleased to be here. Thank you.
Pleasure to have you. Pleasure to have you. Now, this is actually quite an exciting episode because not only are you my first guest, but this is actually the first time that we've met each other in person.
Yeah.
We've when we first introduced, it's probably two or 3 months ago.
Yeah, I was going to say November.
Yeah, and it's only been through Zoom, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I'll give the floor to Gregg just so you can introduce yourself and let all the viewers know who you are.
Superb. Thank you very much. As you know, I'm Gregg, and we know each other through a couple of acquaintances that we've met in the past year or so. And the first conversation I had with George was a really impactful one and a really honest and vulnerable one from his part, which obviously gives me a tremendous amount of respect for you. So yeah, as you see, we're well acquainted in the sense of we've all had our own journey through mental health and mental well-being, and we're both at a point where we believe it's vitally important to have that conversation so that people know they're not alone. So yeah, that's a bit more about me. I'm married, I've got 2 kids. I like dogs, I haven't got one yet. Flat's too small, but yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much, Gregg. And how we like to kick off each show as well is if you could let us all know a positive experience that you've heard, seen, or done recently.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. On the way here, right? So where I've parked, I was parked by some giveaway lines, right? And there was a car parked and there was another one coming towards me. And there was a car coming down, but he was going to be giving right away. So I indicated to pull out, and all of a sudden he's bibbing me. And I went, but I was indicating, and he's like, what are you doing? So we both wound down our windows, and he's like, it's a giveaway line. I was like, oh man, I was indicating, but I'm really sorry. I was like, he goes, that's all right. I said, have a great day, right? Now, something happens to people when they get in a car, and I'm just as guilty of it as anybody else, where you're like, the outrage, how dare they? And just today, it was just that whole sort of like, well, bang, I'm glad that I reacted and responded in a way that didn't sort of take me away from my true self.
Yeah, lovely.
And so for me, like that was in the last 45 minutes. That's still fresh. And like, there's been times in the past where I haven't been so eloquent, and
such a road rage.
And yeah, so like today, just the fact that happened, and I responded in a way where I was like, oh, hang on a sec, like had a beat. You know, you have that choice that Viktor Frankl says, you know, there's a pause on how you react or how you respond in every moment. And more and more I'm trying to be mindful of how can I respond rather than react. So so like positive impact for the guy who essentially I wronged, and I wasn't, you know, indignant that it was my right of way through.
I've found as well actually that just by saying have a good day to someone can massively boost.
And I said thank you as well. Thank you, you know, because like it could have been worse. So I'm grateful for that.
That is lovely.
Put me in a better mind.
To come here. So I guess the most important question is how have you been recently mentally?
I've been really well. Even though I've had some things that have been happening that are positive, that have happened out of really good experiences. I'm going through a lot of changes, as we spoke earlier on. I'm changing career, and something that came completely out of the blue, but I'm really excited about. I've been associated with a company that I'm leaving for close to 22 years.
Wow.
So I started there in 2000 till 2007, had a break about 10 years. 2013, I really wanted to go back, and eventually 2017, I got back. And then I had 2 years there where it was just, I was not in a good place.
Yeah.
Like it was the real decline
Yeah.
of my mental well-being. I was struggling with anxiety, depression. I was alcohol dependent. My inner dialogue and external dialogue was just atrocious. Blame, fear, anger, you name it.
Yeah.
You could pin a label on me with it.
It takes you, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, it consumes you.
Consumes you. Yeah.
And the reality was, I really thought I was alone. And so obviously I'll go into that in more detail, but things are happening in a way for me that are unknown.
Yeah.
And normally for me, that would be get under the duvet and wait till the whole thing blows over, or do something to sabotage it, to derail it. But that's not been happening, and that's lovely.
I think one of the most interesting things, certainly that I've heard, is that actually the unknown is where most positive change happens. It's growth. Yeah. Exactly. And getting out of your comfort zone and kind of having those new experiences is essential, really, isn't it? In growth.
Yeah, it's something that I didn't truly understand for the best part of 38 years of my life.
Yeah.
Because I thought that this was it and that was what it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And something inside of me was clearly saying no.
Yeah.
like there's more than this,
of course.
But that involves you taking a leap of faith in yourself.
But like you said, it's a consumption, so it consumes you in the sense that that's all you really believe.
Sure. Yeah. I was a product of my own belief system and my own paradigms. I mean, they say the hardest mineral on earth is not a diamond; it's a paradigm. The hardest substance on earth it's a paradigm, because to change a paradigm.
Yeah.
Is just massive, and for the best part of 4 years, I've been doing that.
Yeah.
And it's hard. And it's tiring, and it's scary, and it's rewarding, and it's joyful, and it's emotional, and it's wonderful. It's all of these things, and that's the essence of it. That's some of it was hard to go through because of that compound effect of the belief system that I was embroiled in.
Yeah.
Everything was as a part of my reaction to life.
Yeah. And kind of touching on when you say it's anxiety and depression and obviously dependent on alcohol, when would you say that kind of certainly anxiety and depression, was that present in your younger years as well, or had that developed in kind of as you grew older?
Possibly. But, when I was younger, I was I used to have hallucinations when I was younger. And because I was told I had an overactive imagination, and I'm terrified of the dark from about 7 years old. Like from about 6 or 7 years old till I was about 10, it was like, oh man, every night was just like,
there's something under my bed.
I was hearing, seeing things and stuff like that. And it got better. I generally tended to deal with it. But even up until like an adult, I couldn't sleep without having something on in the background, like the TV on or something like that. It's only over the past 2 years that I've kind of gone, no, sleep. I now understand the importance of sleep, the restorative nature of sleep. And like your brain washes itself. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And putting myself up on my language. I don't know what your audience bandwidth is.
We can always edit, don't worry.
That's awesome. So yeah, I mean, so where I am today is, especially at this moment, is that I feel really present and I feel really calm.
Amazing.
Because I said I was wrapping up my last month of work, and it's the first time that I've left a job where I'm not like, I've got to get out because this is crap and they're crap and it's all crap and I hate it and I want to leave because this is not what it said it was going to be on the tin.
Yeah.
I was happy where I was. An opportunity presented itself, and I was like, okay, and that all went fine, and I was offered the position, and then I was like, well, I'm here. I want to leave the best impression of myself before I go there.
Amazing,
I haven't got one foot out the door. I'm not looking over your shoulder waiting for something else to come along so I can bolt. I'm just like, right, I'm amongst this. So I'll leave the very best of me and take that forward. And I've never done that before.
Wow.
and that's really empowering.
Yeah, empowering and rewarding, I'm sure.
Hopefully, yeah.
Time will tell. Time will
Yeah.
tell. But I'm kind of certain that your new role will bode very well for you, and the best of
Appreciate
luck
that.
with all of that. Definitely. Quite an interesting, obviously, on the topic of work. So when you were going through your tough times and the dips, how did your work respond in that sense? Did they know?
No.
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 Did you feel as though that you could tell them?
No, but then if you don't ask, you don't get.
Yeah.
So there is that. But for me, it was just because I was in this cycle of emotion for so long.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought it was me. I just thought it was normal. Just how I thought it was how I was made up. It was how I was supposed to be genetically predisposed of.
Yeah.
This was Gregg, and his moments of rage were, and his heart on his sleeve, and he's just a passionate guy. But I was just, I don't know, I was pretty lost because I didn't like who I was. I didn't like where I was. I didn't like what I was doing. I didn't like the fact that I didn't have enough money. I didn't like the fact that I couldn't, for a period of time, hold down relationships. I've got fantastic friendships and a really understanding family, but I was alone for a long period of time. I mean, I've been with my wife now it'll be 12 years this year. We've been married, it will be 7 years this year. We've been married. But like, it's the first and only long-term relationship I've had.
Yeah.
And she has seen me at my best and she's seen me at my worst, like my absolute worst. And, but I was just assigned to, well, this is it.
Yeah.
And
you kind of didn't think that there was a
no.
way out or
No.
there was any kind of help that you could get.
Zero.
So interestingly, what made you realize then that this isn't how it should be? This isn't me, essentially.
Really interesting story. So I have a keen interest in the paranormal and the parapsychological.
Right, yeah, so do I. Yeah, yeah.
And for years it was a bit of escapism, and it was like, I think it was like 2015, I've really started to delve a bit more in it, not just the programs that are on, but like reading more about it, listening to like people, experts, like the coming from the with the scientific aspect of it. I'm not willing to run blindly into, I believe in all these things, but I definitely believe that it is possible. But when I've done investigations in the past, I'm always quick to say, yeah, but it could be. Like, let's look at that and let's eliminate all of this before we say we cannot explain this. It doesn't mean that it's X, Y, or Z, but we can't explain that. So that, and I went to a paid investigation, and we were on a break, and the guest sensitive was outside having a puff, and we just got chatting, like just straight away, just started a conversation like we'd known each other for a really long time.
Yeah.
And he was saying, I know this guy. His name's David Knight. He's a hypnosis life coach. He's really, really good. And he helped me with my weight loss a couple of years ago. And I was like, oh, okay. At the time, I was a really big guy. I was 20 plus stone.
Wow.
And but I didn't see it. I only ever looked at myself from the neck up in the mirror. Sorry, I just hit my microphone. But so, and then again, we went out on another break later on, and he was just sort of talking about, he's like, just talk to this guy. He goes, but are you going to start coming on more investigations? I was like, yeah. He goes, well, I'll give you my number and I'll let you know when we're doing something, because I'm part of a group myself. I was like, okay, but I just felt like this was like a bit of a kindred spirit.
Yeah, yeah.
And at the time, my wife was away with my children in Poland. She was away for quite a long time. She was away for the whole of the summer holidays. So I think she was like back in another week or two.
Yeah.
And so I've been on my own for like 6 weeks. And been coming home and drinking and watching crap TV and going to bed and eating really poorly and getting up and going to work and hating my job and hating the people there. And I was just like, it got to a point where I was just like,
you're not really living or
I'm
thriving.
done. Like I'm done. So I emailed this guy, David Knight, and I just said, right, this is where I'm at. Yeah, I have a history with addiction, because I've acknowledged my gambling addiction in 2010, and I haven't gambled since.
Brilliant. Well done.
But I was just in such a bind. I just felt like if I didn't do something now,
Yeah.
it would be like I wasn't aware in the moment, but my wife had told me on an occasion, if this doesn't change, I'm going to leave you. I'm going to take the kids and I'm going to go. I don't even remember that conversation. That wasn't because I was drunk. That's just because I was so self-absorbed in my own shit that I just wasn't listening.
Didn't take any
because I just felt like it was,
You're
just get off my case. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm going through something. Or am I? You know? And so I sent this guy an email and I was like, this is where I'm at. And he got back to me a couple of days later. He's like, I can help you. Let's have a Zoom chat. This was before Zoom was Zoom. You know, you should have taken shares out in it. And
hindsight's a wonderful thing.
I know. And so we had a chat, and he's just like, "Well, tell me what's going on." And at the end of it, I just remember saying to him, "I'm just so tired. Like, I'm just exhausted."
Yeah.
Like, even remember having that conversation now. I've literally just put myself in that physical state of how I felt when I was talking to him. And I now feel really tired, but I was just like done. I was like, I just don't know what to do. I've had medication for anxiety. I've been referred to CBT for depression, and I was referred to a local Sutton Uplift for dealing with my anxiety and depression. And it's an online thing, so you get these questionnaires to do, and I'm just like, none of these questions. This is so generic. Like, this cannot typify. I don't know how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
If I did, then I could put my finger on it and start to move. But he just literally, he just said, right, I can help you, but I can't do it for you.
For you, yeah. It's ultimately.
And when he said that, you know, I can give you the tools that can help you, you know, create a bit of sustainability in your life and get a bit of a clarity and work towards something. Part of me was like, no, get out, run away, shut the laptop down now. We're all right. Don't worry about it. Yeah. But I found myself.
It's a natural instinct, really, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's a response
my
to feeling that way.
Ego is so used to kind of me being in a certain way, a certain mindset, like chemically balanced that way, imbalanced or balanced. It depends on how long you've been living with it. So, like, obviously, if I was doing okay, my brain will go right, bang, poof. Normally we feel this way.
You can,
so
ultimately trick yourself into thinking
protein and chemical dumps. I would, oh yeah, I remember that. I'm shit. I'm worthless. I'm terrible. I'm nothing. I'm a cock up. I don't phone my mum enough. You know, my wife doesn't. My kids don't want to go near me. You've got so much debt, and it's like all in a space of 30 seconds.
You almost kind of forget what you were like before.
You have no idea.
Yeah,
and then
it's just a wash.
So
really, isn't it?
and then. So you cling on to certain things, your identity, like Gregg's funny and Gregg likes to drink and it's just like, but all those things were keeping everything else at arm's length because I just didn't know how to deal with myself. I liked to be on my own, but I was terrible company for myself.
Yeah. Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Because it was such
it's a bit of a paradox, isn't it?
It was such a toxic dialogue. I was literally addicted to my negative feelings.
Negative thoughts, because
that was something I figured out myself.
A lot of people aren't actually kind of taught in that situation. I mean, certainly growing up at school, we never really got taught about mental health or emotion. So in that sense, once you have those negative thoughts, you aren't taught to counteract them. You aren't taught
pull yourself together.
It's kind of I'm having it. That's that.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it can kind of spiral, and it can get worse, and it can dominate your thoughts.
Yeah.
And if you don't have any kind of skill in kind of counteracting those or knowing how to.
Yeah. It's an awareness, isn't it?
Yeah. It's and weirdly enough, it's an awareness of your own thoughts, which, in a sense, is a bit like you question your own thoughts, because, I mean, one of the most important things that was ever said to me is thoughts are not fact.
No.
They are not fact.
No.
You can lead yourself to believe that what you are thinking is true, but ultimately
they're real. However, it depends on how far you want to take it. It's like your emotions. Your emotions are very real, but they don't necessarily have to dictate. Best advice I ever heard was, for me anyway, was can you put it in a wheelbarrow? So why are you carrying it around? Like, if you can't physically put it in there, it's like the story of the two monks that were walking in the forest, and this lady was there, and one of the monks picked her up to cross her over the river so she wouldn't get her dress dirty. And the other one monk was like, "You've broke our vows. What are you doing? You touched another woman. You shouldn't do that." And he was like, "I didn't want her to. I wanted to help her."
Yeah.
And it was like 6 hours later, and they've been walking for miles, and this other monk was like, "Are you okay, brother?" And he's like, "I can't believe you." He goes, "I put her down 6 hours ago. You're still carrying
You're still
her."
thinking about it. Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
And it's just like another. It's just like, it's all there, isn't it? The lessons are all there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just
The baggage could
that
get heavier and heavier.
and I had a real sort of like shift. I think it was round about September, between September and November of 2020, where I was really doing some work, and away from my coaches, it was kind of like more sort of finding inspiration or just other viewpoints, other perspectives. And I was really kind of like chewing on some gristle of some archaic shit that I've been, and it was just that whole sort of like, okay, yeah, I know my ego is going to throw that up at me, because I'm aware of who I am, and I'm aware of how far I've come. I know I'm not where I want to be, but I'm glad I'm not where I was.
Yeah.
So I remind myself that when I do have those thoughts or those emotions that come in again, I'm like, this is coming from nowhere. There's nothing today to say that I have to feel that way.
Yeah.
I get to choose how I feel. And as easy as it sounds and as simple as it is to like, but if you are of a certain mindset, it's really hard to fucking comprehend. It's so difficult to say, right, that's it.
That's
you
it,
know,
I'm
like
snapping
it's
out
like
of it.
someone who's quite a closed and contrite and maybe a bit of a snappy person, just going in and being like a Butlins redcoat at work. Everyone's going to be like, Jesus, what's up with John? Like, what happened?
Yeah.
And they wouldn't know how to deal with that.
Playing from that. So how was it that you noticed? Were you negatively affecting the people around you that then made you notice that maybe actually I am suffering mentally?
Oh, I was fully aware that from a young age, that like from my teens, that I could control the mood of a room in a good way or a bad way. I have a presence, and I can pick up on the vibe of a room as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I was in one, if I was like, if things weren't going my way, people knew about it.
Yeah.
Oh, I was a shithead. Yeah. I was just like, and I just couldn't. It was just like, no, I've had this thought. I've had this, you know, this slightly deviates from that. You know,
because certainly, I mean, for me, when I was at my lowest point with depression, I obviously, you know that something's wrong, really. And it's a constant bombardment of intrusive thoughts and dark thoughts. But it was really what made me realize how bad it was getting, was that I was very negatively impacting the people around me.
Yeah.
Certainly my family and some close friends. And that then made me realize, because I mean, with my suicidal thoughts and tendencies, I thought that was the only way out.
Yeah.
But actually, when I had that awareness of what was going on with me was negatively impacting others, and they voiced their concerns and showed me that I'm not alone. They showed me that my thoughts are not just what is surrounding me.
You saw a way out of yourself.
That was then the opening, the gateway that I really needed to say, well, yeah, I am having these suicidal thoughts, but there are people here that are genuinely concerned for my well-being and still want me to be here. There is something to be here for.
Yeah, no, I mean, on more than one occasion, well, several dozens even, like, you know, you think, well, fucking hell, the world will probably be better without me in it.
Which is not, by the way.
No, but that's the thing. Never underestimate the void that you will leave in your absence.
Yeah.
I think that was Jordan B. Peterson that said that, but it's just like, I'm not saying like blow smoke up your own backside, but understand the value that you have for other people, even when you feel valueless.
Yeah.
Like, even when you feel like you are zero impact on anybody, you are.
Yeah.
You really are. Like, there's so much about you that people need that you don't understand, because we live inside of ourselves, I think. So we're only determined externally by the actions we take and the words that we see. No one else
knows
in
what's
here.
going on inside.
Nobody else. And that's whether or not you live with any level of mental health issues or not. There's a thing that says 1 in 4 people will suffer. It's 1 in 1. Everybody has it. Everybody has mental health.
Yeah.
So does everybody have mental well-being? Possibly not all the time.
Yeah.
And some people probably don't understand, realise, or are aware of it. And hopefully it doesn't get to a point where it compounds and it becomes a real big thing. But yeah, I mean, for me, I think the first time I initially thought about suicide, I was probably 17 or 18.
Wow. Yeah. Sorry.
And then it kind of dipped in and out, but it got really, like 2018, like the end of 2017, 2018, through that like 9-10 months was just pretty intense.
Yeah.
Like driving from seeing a customer in the company car that I had, which was a bit of a beast, going, I could just in that wall. I mean, like it will be, I can done.
Sympathise. Yeah,
it'll be done. And it was just like, but the thought pattern was like, it was as flowing as like, oh yeah, I must really remember to get eggs on the way home. Do you know what I mean? It was that it came up. It wasn't like you could do it. It wasn't a sinister voice. It was like, oh, what would the world be? Well, do it. It's just a case of like, yeah, I could do that. Like, it could, literally, like if it keeps on getting to a point, then yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Like
and
ABC. It is kind of like, and then there was, and luckily, those thoughts have not been a reality for me for 3 years.
That's brilliant to hear.
Really but it wasn't a constant. But whenever it did pop up, it wasn't like, oh my God, Greg, what are you thinking? It was like, yeah, okay, it's a possibility. Maybe one day. Yeah. And you probably wouldn't tell people that.
No,
because they'll be like, what?
That's slightly kind of. I mean, we always talk about stigma around mental health and talking about your mental health, but to the extent, and it's a reality. It is a realization that people have those thoughts, and the only way that it's going to spiral into worse things, and God forbid that nothing like that does happen, but it's being a taboo topic. To say that you're having those thoughts, you're almost struggling. You're in yourself, but because people may not allow it to kind of come up in conversation, which is beautiful that we're having right now. And that's the purpose, is that people have these thoughts. It is a total reality and truth. And until we can accept that, and someone feels comfortable enough to say it out loud and to actually let people know that that's going on. That realistically, the kind of conversation isn't being had. It's and I mean, it's not there.
I mean, it's in tandem. Like, it's not necessarily having suicidal thoughts. It's also telling yourself, oh, I'm not good enough. No one loves me. They don't like me. I'm fat. I'm ugly. I'm this. I'm
self-sabotage.
You know what I mean? It's like, and that can make you just feel so hopeless and so alone. And the biggest thing that I've learned and I've come to understand is that no one is alone in this. Like, nobody is alone. And I genuinely believe for so long, for the best part of 20 odd years, no one could possibly comprehend what I'm going through, because I can't even explain it myself. I can't.
It's impossible, isn't it? It's impossible.
It's and so, but with regards to, like, taking on the constant project that is myself, to basically, I made an agreement with myself. Is like, right, if I've used my mind for the best part of 20 odd years, 30 odd years to be essentially negative, if I could just be as halfway positive, what can I achieve? Like, who can I become?
Yeah.
And so from the outset, for me, is here's the thing: when you take on this, like if you're self-development, personal development, it's a selfish act you have to do in order to be selfless.
Yeah.
So you kind of you really do, like, you know, my wife's given me so much time over the past couple of years, especially during lockdown, when I was just like, right, I need to use an opportunity to learn. She said, "What, learn what?" I went, "Learn about me, like figure it out."
Self-awareness.
Because I got to a point in my life where I thought I knew everything. I was massively fucking wrong. Like, I knew nothing. So now I come from a place of unknowing. Like, I'm learning to unlearn. And it's literally when you start to work on yourself, especially if you've been living a certain way, it's like learning how to walk, talk, think, and act again. It's literally like huge rehabilitation.
Baby steps.
Yeah, like everything is like catching yourself if you snap at something, or if you respond in a negative way, or if spotting a trigger and having that moment to react or respond, or, you know, carrying yourself in a certain way, taking care of yourself physically, mentally, spiritually, you know, just doing these things. And it's not like I've done this big avalanche of work. The good thing is like I'm nowhere near
finished.
No, because it's infinite.
Ultimately, it's endless. It's endless.
And it doesn't end, because there's always going to be something. There's always going to be problems and stresses. There's always are. But the thing that I've tried to adopt in this year is, rather than resolutions and goals, is like problems and stresses. Which ones do I want to have? What problems do I want to have? What stresses do I want to have? Because problems and stresses are going to come along.
Yeah.
But I get to choose the ones as well that I get to tackle.
Yeah.
And they could be something that can be accomplished in 3, 6, 9, 12 months, 10 years, 15 years, you know?
Yeah.
Given the fact that, you know, I'm granted the next day, you know, and I just try to be as present as possible, because there is only now.
Yeah.
There is only this conversation.
Yeah.
There's no other conversation we're thinking about than the one we're having now, or we're not even thinking about the ones we had previous, because me and you are going to remember this differently, even though it's documented now. Right? We'll remember this differently. You'll remember a different color of my shirt. I'll remember a different color of your trousers, because it's how we take that information in.
They say you live in the past, you get depressed. You live in the future, you get anxious. So it's most important to live in the now and be mindful of now. Appreciate where you are right now and what is going on, and the rest will take care of itself.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I was living there, worrying about then, and not appreciating this.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, be here now. You
can't be in 3 different places at once.
No, you can't. But you put yourself there.
Yeah.
So you're literally torn. So where you are physically is not where you are mentally or spiritually. You're like this in the background, beating you over the head. Is like, I sometimes say I call my brain Arthur, because you know, Arthur brain. And I just say to him, when he tries to throw stuff up, I was like, you don't have to throw it in my face. I was there.
Yeah.
You don't, like, I don't have to do it to myself. Like, the reality is when you are in this state of mind, you know, if you are dealing with the anxiety of people, places, social situations, work, or the depression of experiences past, or what you are worried about may be happening, when it happens in here, it's not true. You know, it's Marcus Aurelius, we suffer more in imagination than we do in reality.
Of course.
And I know I love throwing an odd quote out, but what I do is I take a quote and I'm like, right, how can I incorporate this in an understanding for me? And then what I do,
process.
and I've got an 8-year-old son, Caleb, and I take some aspects of what I learn and I try and disseminate that in a way that he'll understand it, because I never had that. And for me, it's like, if I can do that, strip it down to its core, so that the essence of it goes through, I've then learned that again.
Yeah.
And then
it's
that becomes a
reinforcement,
habit,
it's positive
and that becomes a
reinforcement.
behavior,
Of course.
and then it just becomes
natural
part of it, you know, because I don't have, like, for me, with regards to my own well-being, there's not a certain, it's not like where you follow a football team, or if you like a certain genre of music, or it's like, okay, like Oasis and Blur in the 90s. I'm dating myself here, you're Oasis or Blur, you're very rarely, but I like
one or
both.
the other.
Right? So, but like, I take from this buffet, this smorgasbord, I take what suits me at the time, because like when we were speaking earlier on, you have to be ready to receive that message.
Yeah.
There's shit I'm not ready to receive yet.
Yeah. Like most people, it's a learning process, and it takes time. And I think a lot of some of my issues came from wanting it to be there and now. It was instant.
Red pill, blue pill.
Yeah.
Defo. Like, I still long for that.
Yeah.
Mate. I'm telling you, right?
It's never going to be that simple.
Oh, I got to read that book. Oh God, I got to do the exercise. Like, can I not just find, like the pill, the book, the mantra, the half-hour audio meditation, or the 12-week course that's just going to make me forget all that and work towards it? Because everything changes. You go through seasons. There's things I was pursuing a year ago that I'm not pursuing now, and it's just sort of like, and part of me was a bit worried, like, am I just getting too faddy? Like, am I just jumping from lily pad to lily pad, hoping not to sink? But the reality is, it's a case of like, there's a reason why I'm picking it. I've got books on my shelf that I bought 2-3 years ago that I haven't read yet. But then I've got books that I'll get now for that moment and devour, and then and then but I kind of have it as like a backup library. Do you know what I mean? It's like I've got like 3 or 4 books on the go at a time, because I'm in various stages of thought processes in a day, week, month, year.
Amazing.
So, and I'll go back to it, but the most important thing I found, whereas I've done a lot of the work for myself, by myself, is last year the reality dawned on me, is like, I really have to start talking about this.
Yeah.
Like, I really have to get involved in letting people know that they're not on their own, and there is help, be that medical profession, or, you know, a walk, an encouragement, a call, someone holding you accountable for something, working towards something so it gets you out of that, you know, just opens up your perspective, and shifting mindsets as well.
I'm incredibly thankful and proud that you've obviously come here today, because it obviously does take guts, and I think that's kind of what it needs. You need to have that lived experience that we're now using in the most positive manner possible.
Yeah.
It is allowing people to understand or get a greater perspective. And honestly, if one person has a better understanding, or one person goes and speaks to someone about, because they have now noticed, it's amazing. We're almost time to finish. So a lovely thing that I think is quite good to finish on with the show is, if you've got one particular technique that you use to be mindful, that stands out to you, that the viewers could try.
Screaming in a pillow for half an hour a day works wonder. Well, I think for me is, I try and laugh quite a bit, and I've always had that. I do try and laugh. I like to make people laugh.
Mm-hmm.
I like to catch them off guard when they're having a sip of tea and it comes out their mouth. That brings me joy. But one of the things that one of the things that's been massively beneficial to me for the past 6 months is I audio journal. So
voice memos and
I literally,
voice recordings.
I've got my Bluetooth headset on, and it's either on the way to work or when I pull up to work. I'm always about half hour early, and I have a check-in. So I check in with myself.
Yeah.
And I'm right, today's the date. How we doing? I literally talk like there's me and there's me. And I'm literally having that conversation. And I go through what I've listen to, what I've been learning. I just try and talk about that, or I'm like, how am I feeling today? How did I close off yesterday? I journal in the evenings as well. But I have that time, and if I need it in lunchtime, I just go in my car and talk to myself again for another 20 minutes or on the way home, just so I can get it out.
You're getting it out there.
Just so I can get it out. And just because if the only voice you're listening to is the one in here, it's like when you do reach out to somebody, and that you were saying that it was brave of me to come here and talk about this. The real courage is when somebody says, I need help.
Yeah.
That's the real courage, because that's the first step.
The first step.
And that's, after that, gets easier.
Yeah.
Like it's hard, but it's rewarding.
Yeah.
But it does get easier. And so for me, the moment that, it's like when you talk to a friend, you go, I've got this problem, and or something's stressing me out, or I don't understand, and they haven't got to say a word, and you go, thanks for listening, I've sorted it out, and they're like, I didn't say a thing.
Yeah.
This is what it does for me.
Yeah.
So if I could give anybody any advice, talk to yourself.
Talk to yourself.
Like just
brilliant.
Just call yourself out on some shit as well. Like, is it real? Is it necessary? Like, do I actually feel this way? Is there anything I can do now to snap myself out of it? Like counting down from 5 to 1. Like, I know you said the one thing, but they're kind of
they all intertwine.
There's always something. Like, just try and catch yourself.
Yeah.
If you know that something isn't in line with who you're trying to be, and if that's a better version of yourself, then more power to you. Just try and catch yourself, or try and do things that just kind of like eliminate that temptation to sort of put yourself in it. But I talk to myself.
Brilliant. Yeah.
And I'll probably carry on talking when George has turned this off and he'll leave the room, and I'll still be doing it. This is a great conversation.
Greg, it's been absolutely wonderful to have you on. It's been an absolute pleasure, and of course, lovely to actually see you in person. Yeah. Everyone that's watched or listened, thank you very much. We'll join you next week on Sully's Open Conversation. Thank you and goodbye.